If you can't break her, you'll never own her heart. That's the brutal truth most men will never hear. You can shower her with love, treat her like a queen, and never raise your voice, and still watch her slowly drift away. Because women are not addicted to comfort. They're addicted to transformation. And transformation only comes when a man is strong enough to challenge her. Right now, you might be playing it safe. You avoid conflict. You tiptoe around her moods. You give in to her demands just to keep the peace. Well, you think this makes her love you more, but it's killing her attraction. She might smile at you, but deep down, she's bored. She's wondering if you're truly the man who can make her feel something real. Breaking her isn't about cruelty. It's about breaking the illusions, the walls she's built to protect herself. Walls that stop her from feeling the deep, raw connection she secretly craves. When you have the strength to break those walls, you stop being just another guy and you become the man she can't live without. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to step into that role, how to take back the power, ignite her desire, and make her love you in a way she's never loved anyone before. Let's get into it. Step 1, break her walls, not her spirit. Every woman has walls. They're not just habits or attitudes. They're carefully built defenses formed from past heartbreaks, disappointments, and the lessons she's learned from men who came before you. If you think those walls are going to melt away just because you're a nice guy or because you show her love, you're already losing. Without strength, won't penetrate them. The key is to understand that breaking her walls doesn't mean crushing her spirit. In fact, if you crush her spirit, you've lost her. What you want is to dismantle the barriers that keep her from showing her authentic self while keeping her essence, her fire alive. Let me give you an example. Take Ryan, 32, Austin, Texas. Ryan had been dating Claire, 28, for about 6 months. She was beautiful, confident, and seemed emotionally unavailable at times. Every time he tried to get closer, she would pull back or distract herself with work and friends. Ryan's instinct was to chase harder, reassure her, and try to prove he was different from other guys. All that did was push her further away. What finally worked wasn't more sweetness. It was boundaries and challenge. Ryan stopped chasing every time she withdrew. When Claire tested him with her coldness, instead of folding, he calmly told her, "I'm not here to compete with your walls. I'm here to know the real you. If that's not what you want, that's fine." That moment wasn't angry or aggressive. It was steady, grounded, and real. Over the next few weeks, Claire slowly began to share more of her fears and desires because she felt his presence wasn't conditional on her constant validation. The Stoics had a concept for this apathy, not in the modern sense of apathy, but freedom from being ruled by extreme emotions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Breaking her walls is about having that inner strength. When she pushes, you don't get rattled. When she retreats, you don't chase like a desperate man. You remain unmoved, yet open. You also need to recognize the difference between a test and a genuine problem. Sometimes she's guarded because she wants to see if you can handle her at her most unapproachable. Other times, those walls are there because she's not ready to be in a relationship at all. The man who knows how to break walls without crushing the spirit can tell the difference and walks away if necessary. That's also part of strength. A crucial detail here is patience. Breaking her walls can't be rushed. If you push too hard too soon, she'll feel attacked and retreat deeper into herself. Instead, you chip away at them by showing consistent self-respect, calm dominance, and emotional stability. That's what makes her curious. And eventually, that curiosity becomes trust. So remember, your role isn't to fix her, it's to lead her. Women don't fall deeply in love with men they can walk over. They fall for men who can challenge them while protecting their essence. When you break her walls the right way, you're not taking something from her. You're freeing something within her. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and write, "I choose strengths." Say it like you mean it, because a man who leads with strength is a man who shapes his reality. And stay with me because in the next step, we'll talk about a shift in power that most men are too afraid to create. Yet, it's exactly what makes her start chasing you instead. Step 2, challenge her comfort zone. A woman's comfort zone is where she feels safe, but it's also where attraction slowly dies. Comfort zones are cozy, familiar, and predictable, but relationships built entirely inside them tend to become stale. If you want her respect, desire, and full attention, you have to be the man who challenges her to step beyond it. Challenging her comfort zone doesn't mean creating chaos or being reckless. It means introducing moments where she has to see you and herself in a new light. This could be emotional, mental, or even physical. The goal isn't to make her uncomfortable for the sake of it. The goal is to inspire growth and stir emotions she can't feel when everything stays the same. Think about it. People rarely remember the perfectly smooth, predictable moments in life. They remember the experiences that made them stretch, think differently, or feel a surge of adrenaline. Women are in no different. When you challenge her comfort zone, you make yourself the source of those moments, and that's powerful. The Stoics understood the value of discomfort. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Waste life staying inside our limits, avoiding challenges, and seeking constant ease." If she's used to being in control, if she's used to men always playing safe around her, you stepping in and disrupting that rhythm calmly without apology forces her to engage with you differently. Here's the thing. Challenging her comfort zone often means refusing to play the role she expects. If she's used to a man agreeing with everything she says, you give her your honest opinion, even when it's the opposite. If she's used to men rearranging their lives to accommodate her schedule, you keep your priorities in place and let her adjust. If she's used to conversations that skim the surface, you ask the kind of questions that make her pause and really think. You also need to understand timing, challenge too soon, and it can come off as combative. Wait too long, and she's already placed you in the predictable category. The sweet spot is after you've shown stability and self-control. When she knows you're not coming from a place of insecurity, but from genuine confidence. The magic happens when she realizes she can't predict you. That unpredictability isn't about playing games. It's about living with a depth and conviction most men never reach. One week you might surprise her by taking her somewhere completely new, not to impress her, but because it's a place you enjoy and want to share. Another time you might call out a self-limiting belief she has. Not in a judgmental way, but in a way that challenges her to rise above it. And here's the twist. Once you pull out of her comfort zone, she'll often resist, maybe even push back. That's normal. The very fact that she's resisting means you've touched something real. The worst thing you can do is backpedal out of fear of losing her approval. The Stoic approach here is simple. Hold your ground. As Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. You're not here to win every moment in her eyes. You're here to awaken something deeper. Over time, this dynamic builds a unique kind of attraction. She doesn't just see you as a man she likes. She sees you as the man who makes her feel alive, challenged, and in touch with parts of herself she doesn't access on her own. That's not something she'll want to lose. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and write, "I lead growth." Say it with conviction, because a man who challenges a woman's comfort zone is a man who refuses to live small. Stay locked in, because in the next step, we're going to talk about the quiet shift that happens when you stop giving her the reaction she's used to and why that can flip the entire balance of power in your favor. Step 3. Expose the truth she hides. Every woman has a version of herself she shows the world and a version she keeps tucked away. That hidden side isn't always dark or sinister. Sometimes it's just the raw truth she doesn't think anyone can handle. And here's where you come in. If you're the kind of man who can see beyond her polished exterior, you instantly become different from every guy who only interacts with her public self. Let me be clear. Exposing the truth she hides isn't about prying, interrogating, or making her feel cornered. It's about creating a space where she feels both challenged and safe enough to let her guard down. You do this by being observant, by catching the little inconsistencies, and by asking the questions nobody else has the courage to ask. Take, for example, Ethan, 31, from Austin. He was dating a woman who always presented herself as confident and perfectly in control. She'd laugh off deeper topics and keep conversations light. Most men just accepted that as her personality. Ethan didn't. One evening during a casual dinner, he noticed her tone change for just a second when family came up. He didn't push right away, but later he brought it up in a calm, grounded way. I get the feeling there's more your story than you let people see. That single sentence shifted everything. She paused, studied him, and eventually admitted struggles she'd been hiding for years. Ethan didn't just get to know her better. He became someone she could never see as just another guy. The Stoics taught that truth is often uncomfortable but necessary. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change." The same applies here. When you expose truth, you're not attacking her, you're offering her a mirror she can't ignore. And most women deep down crave that from a man. Another example is Madison, 27, from Chicago. She met a guy who wasn't afraid to call her out when her actions didn't align with her words. She would post online about valuing honesty, yet avoid direct conversations when upset. He didn't let it slide. Instead, he gently pointed out, for someone who values honesty so much, you avoid it when it's uncomfortable. At first, she bristled, but later she admitted she respected him for not pretending everything was fine. That kind of dynamic doesn't just deepen attraction, it builds a foundation that's almost impossible to replicate with someone else. The key here is to approach with composure, not judgment. If you come across as accusatory, she'll just put the walls back. But if you approach as a man who's unshaken by her reactions, she'll eventually see that you're not trying to win points. You're trying to connect with her on a level most men can't reach. When you expose her truth, you also expose your own strength. You're showing that you can handle the unfiltered version of her, the messy, imperfect parts. That's powerful, because so many women have been conditioned to believe that no man will stick around if he sees the whole picture. Prove them wrong, and you become unforgettable. Now, here's the warning. Once she realizes you can see through her, she may test you even harder. She might try to distract you with charm, push you away emotionally, or pretend the truth doesn't matter. Your job is to stand firm. As Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide you will be the man who seeks truth, and don't waver. Your turn. I want you to drop a comment and write, "I see beyond." Say it. Because if you can see beyond her words, her smile, and her defenses, you hold a kind of influence that no shallow attraction can match. And stay tuned, because in the next step, we'll break down how challenging her in silence can speak louder than any argument you could ever have. That's when the dynamic really starts to shift. Step 4, trigger her self-reflection. Here's something most men overlook. If you can get a woman to truly reflect on herself, you've done something far more powerful than impressing her with charm or status. Because when self-reflection happens, she's not just thinking about herself, she's thinking about herself in relation to you. That's when the attraction shifts from surface level to something much deeper and harder to shake off. But let's be clear, triggering self-reflection isn't about lecturing her or giving her unsolicited life advice. In fact, the fastest way to make her defensive is to tell her exactly what she's doing wrong. Instead, your job is to create moments, questions, and silences that make her see herself in a new light. You lead her to the mirror. You don't force her to look. The Stoics understood this principle well. Epictetus said, "Only the educated are free." In this context, educated doesn't mean formal schooling. It means self-awareness. And you can't hand someone self-awareness like a gift. They have to arrive at it themselves, often through discomfort. So how do you create that discomfort without being cruel? You challenge inconsistencies in a calm, matter-of-fact way. If she claims she values loyalty, but you've seen her betray friends when it's convenient, you don't attack her. Instead, you might simply say, "That doesn't sound like the loyalty you say you value." And then you stop. You let the silence do the work. People hate silence because it forces them to sit with their own thoughts And when she sits with hers, you become the catalyst for a rare and uncomfortable realization. Sometimes it's about the way you react, or rather don't react. If she tries to provoke jealousy and you respond with steady indifference, she's forced to ask herself why she needs that validation in the first place. That's a crack in the armor. And through that crack, self-reflection can seep in. The truth is, many women, just like many men, build entire personas around avoiding self-reflection. They stay busy, they stay social, they surround themselves with noise, so they never have to face the quiet truth. When you introduce that quiet truth into her life, you're not just another man she met. You're the man who made her stop. But here's where your discipline comes in. You cannot seek validation for triggering her reflection. If you do it for a win, she'll feel manipulated. If you do it because you genuinely live by a standard of truth and self-awareness, she'll sense that. This is why Stoicism fits so perfectly here. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your role isn't make or change. It's to live in such a way that she feels compelled to examine herself when she's around you. And understand this. Self-reflection isn't always immediate. Sometimes she'll brush it off in the moment. But days later, weeks later, even months later, your words or actions will echo in her mind. That's the beauty of playing the long, slick game. You don't need to win in real time. Here's the other side of it. When you trigger her self-reflection, you also set the frame. She begins to see that you are not just in her life to please her or validate her. You are in her life as a mirror. And that kind of man is hard to forget, even if she walks away. Your move now, drop a comment and write, I am the mirror. Because when you can make someone face themselves, you're not just in their story, you change it. And next, we're going to talk about how to confront the subtle power game she plays without losing your composure for even a second. That's when the balance shifts entirely in your favor. Step 5, earn respect through strength. Let's get something straight. Love without respect doesn't last. And in the world of attraction, respect is often built on one thing: strength. I'm not just talking about physical strength, though that can be a factor. I'm talking about emotional strength, mental discipline, and the ability to stand unshaken in situations where most men would crumble. Respect is earned when she sees that you are not easily swayed by emotions, temptations, or her attempts to test you. In other words, you're not the guy who says one thing and then bends when pressure comes. You have a center, a backbone, and you protect it. Take Mark, 32, from Dallas. Mark had been dating a woman who had a habit of pulling away every time things got too close. In the past, he would panic, chase her, and try to fix whatever was wrong. This time, he didn't. He kept going to the gym, running his business, and maintaining his friendships. When she resurfaced, she saw a man who wasn't broken by her absence. That's when her respect and her attraction shot up. This kind of strength isn't about acting cold or heartless. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to beg anyone to see it. That confidence creates a gravitational pull. Women test men consciously or unconsciously to see if they can rely on them when life gets messy. Think about Sarah, 27, from New York. She was dating a guy who seemed confident at first, but would unravel every time she had a bad day and got moody. She didn't feel safer with him. She felt like she had to manage his emotions. That's exhausting for a woman. When she met a man who could stay calm in the storm, she immediately felt drawn in. The Stoics understood that real strength comes from self-mastery. As Seneca said, no man is free who is not master of himself. You can't earn respect if you can't control your own reactions. If every disagreement turns into an emotional explosion, or if every setback leaves you sulking, you're showing weakness, not strength. And here's the key. Strength isn't just shown in big dramatic moments. It's in the everyday discipline. It's in how you handle small frustrations without snapping. It's in how you make decisions with clarity instead of from desperation. It's in your ability to hear no without collapsing into self-pity. Strength also comes from living by principles. If you say you value honesty, you tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. If you say you won't tolerate disrespect, you follow through on that, even if it means walking away from someone you care about. That consistency builds respect faster than any grand romantic gesture. When a woman respects your strength, her behavior changes. She argues less because she knows manipulation won't work. She tests less because she knows you'll pass. And she's more likely to invest in a relationship because she knows you're not going to disappear when things get hard. But here's the catch. You can't fake it. You can't act strong for a week and expect lasting respect. Strength has to be part of who you are. And that means you have to build it through challenges, through discipline, through living a life that demands you grow. Now, I want you to drop this in the comments. I stand firm because the man who stands firm when others fold is the man who earns both respect and love. And in the next part, we're going to talk about how to use that strength to take control of the dynamic without ever raising your voice. That's when she starts seeing you differently in ways she can't ignore. Step 6, rebuild her trust. Trust is fragile. Once it's broken, it's never the same. But that doesn't mean it can't be rebuilt. It just means that the process will take time, consistency, and an unwavering commitment to showing her, not telling her that you've changed. Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. You can't talk your way back into trust. Words are easy, and when trust has been damaged, they're often meaningless. What matters is action, and not just a burst of good behavior for a week or two. We're talking about a consistent pattern that shows you're reliable, grounded, and worthy of her faith. Again, the Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, first say yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, decide who you want to become, then live in a way that proves it every single day. Trust is rebuilt when your actions align with your words so consistently that doubt no longer has room to grow. One of the most important parts of rebuilding trust is patience. She's been hurt, betrayed, or disappointed. She's not going to believe you right away, and she shouldn't. In fact, if she does forgive too quickly without seeing real change, it usually means she hasn't processed the hurt yet, and it'll resurface later. Patience also means not demanding her trust back on your timeline. It's about letting her see for herself over time that you're no longer the man who broke it in the first place. This is where many men fail. They want instant results because they feel they've done enough. But in her eyes, enough is not defined by your effort. It's defined by her experience of your consistency. Another critical part is accountability. If you made mistakes, own them fully. Don't shift blame. Don't make excuses, and don't minimize the impact. When you take full responsibility without defensiveness, you're sending the message that you respect her feelings and you're serious about change. Also, understand that rebuilding trust isn't just about the past, it's about the future. It's about showing her that going forward, you are a man of your word. That means doing the small things you say you'll do, keeping promises even when they seem insignificant, and staying calm and dependable even when things get tough. Imagine her watching you over weeks and months. She notices that you keep your commitments, you handle challenges without lashing out, and you make decisions with integrity. Slowly, her guard begins to lower, not because you asked her to trust you, but because you made it impossible not to. And here's something most men overlook. Rebuilding trust also requires rebuilding attraction. If she trusts you but doesn't feel drawn to you anymore, the relationship will feel flat. That's why you must keep living with purpose, improving yourself, and maintaining the qualities that made her interested in the first place. Trust and attraction together create the foundation for a lasting connection. This isn't easy. In fact, it might be one of the hardest steps in the entire process. But that's exactly why it's powerful. Because the man who can rebuild trust without begging, without rushing, and without losing his own self-respect is the man who becomes unforgettable. Now I want you to comment this. Earn it. Because trust isn't given, it's earned. One consistent action at a time. And in the next part, we're going to look at what happens once you've regained that trust and how to use it to create a bond that's stronger than before without slipping back into old patterns. That's where the real transformation begins. Step 7, ignite hair hidden. Every woman has layers. The side she shows the world and the side she keeps tucked away for the man who knows how to draw it out. When you've rebuilt trust and Reestablish respect. The next step isn't just about keeping things stable. It's about reigniting the spark that makes her crave you in ways she can't explain. Here's the thing. Attraction isn't just about looks or charm. It's about how you make her feel when she's around you. You can't force desire, but you can create the conditions where it naturally rises to the surface. And to do that, you need to tap into both her emotional side and her primal instincts. Let's break it down. First, unpredictability. Women are drawn to men who keep them intrigued. If she can predict every move you make, there's no excitement, no tension. You don't have to be mysterious in a fake movie-style way, but you should be a man with his own world, his own plans, and his own sense of adventure. For example, instead of texting her the same good morning every day, invite her to join you last minute for something spontaneous like a sunset walk by the pier or trying that rooftop wine bar she's never been to. Take Ethan, 32, for example. He was in a long-term relationship that felt flat. Instead of falling into the same predictable routine, started introducing small surprises, sending her a handwritten note in the middle of the work week, taking her to a salsa class, even though he couldn't dance, or simply switching up their Friday nights with something unexpected. The shift wasn't dramatic at first, but over time she started looking at him with that spark in her eyes again, one she had when they first met. Second challenge here, hidden desires often come alive when there's a healthy push-pull dynamic. If you're always agreeable, never teasing her, never pushing back, you're not engaging the part of her that wants to be mentally stimulated. This doesn't mean being rude or distant. It means playfully calling her out, questioning her ideas, and making her laugh while doing it. Take Samantha, 27. She dated a guy who always went along with everything she said. It was safe, but it was boring. Then she met someone who would debate her favorite television shows, challenge her on her opinions, and make her defend her ideas with a smirk on his face. She admitted later that this kind of energy made her feel alive and, yes, more attracted. Third, presence. When you're with her, be there. No phone in your hand. No half-distracted scrolling. No mind wandering off. Look at her in the eyes when she talks. Notice the little things she says. Remember them and bring them up, Haber. This level of presence makes her feel seen in a way most men fail to deliver. And feeling deeply seen is one of the most powerful triggers of desire. Finally, don't forget the physical side. Desire thrives when there's a slow, deliberate buildup. Sometimes that means lingering touches that stop just short of more. Sometimes it's in the way you lean in just enough when you speak or how your hand brushes hers without rushing to grab it. It's the art of leaving space for her imagination to fill in the blanks. Here's the truth. Women don't just want safety and stability. They also want excitement, mystery, and the thrill of feeling wanted by a man who doesn't need them, but chooses them. If you can give her both, you'll tap into that part of her that she doesn't show to everyone, the part that's reserved for the man who truly ignites her. Now I want you to comment, I spark desire. Because when you become the man who can awaken her hidden passions, you'll never have to chase her. She'll be the one leaning in. And in the next step, we'll talk about the one thing that keeps that fire burning for the long term without ever letting it fade into routine. Step 8, lead her where she fears to go. Every woman has a threshold, a place in her mind and heart that she's hesitant to cross. It might be an emotional depth she's afraid to reveal, a life change she's been putting off, or a level of intimacy that feels too vulnerable. And here's the truth. If you want a deeper, lasting connection, you can't just meet her where she's comfortable. You have to be the man who guides her into the places she fears and shows her it's safe to go there. This isn't about control or dominance in a crude way. It's about leadership, the kind that's rooted in confidence, calm, and conviction. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. That applies here. Because when you lead her into the unknown, you must do it with a steady hand and no flinch in your voice. Your composure is what gives her the courage to step forward. Sometimes where she fears to go is emotional vulnerability. Many women put up walls because of past heartbreak or trust issues. They'll laugh things off, change the subject, or keep things light, so they never have to reveal the deeper, messier truths about themselves. As a man, your role isn't to smash through those walls aggressively. It's to stand at the gate unshaken until she chooses to open it. And when she does, you don't judge. Don't panic. You hold that space like it's the most natural thing in the world. Other times, it's about life direction. She might be stuck in a pattern, a dead-end job, toxic friendships, or self-sabotaging habits. And part of her knows she needs change, but fear keeps her in place. This is where your presence and example become the catalyst. You don't lecture her into action. You live in a way that makes change feel not only possible, but inevitable. You show her through your actions that the unknown can be exciting instead of terrifying. There's also the physical side to this. Some women fear letting go completely in intimacy because full surrender feels dangerous. If she senses you're the kind of man who will lead without abusing that trust, she'll allow herself to follow your lead into deeper passion than she's ever experienced. And that's where connection transcends the surface level. It becomes something rare. But here's the catch. You can't fake this. You can't lead her anywhere you haven't been yourself. If you want her to face her fears, you must first face yours. If you want her to trust your lead, your life has to prove that you're a man who walks into discomfort willingly, who meets uncertainty with steadiness, and who holds his ground when things get messy. Think about the Stoic ideal here. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. When she sees that in you, she'll instinctively feel safer stepping into the places she once avoided. And when she does, the bond between you will shift into something far deeper than attraction. It will become respect mixed with desire. And that's a combination she won't easily find elsewhere. Here's what I want you to comment. I lead with courage, because the man who can guide a woman beyond her fears becomes unforgettable. And in the next step, we'll explore how to keep that trust alive once she's crossed into that new territory with you, so she never feels the need to retreat. Step 9. Awaken the woman behind the mask. Every woman wears a mask. Sometimes it's subtle. Confident smile hiding uncertainty, a playful attitude concealing deeper emotions. Other times, it's a full suit of armor, carefully built to protect herself from disappointment, rejection, or heartbreak. And here's the thing most men never realize. She wants someone to see past that mask, but only if he can handle what's underneath. Let's be clear. This isn't about fixing her. It's about recognizing that the person she presents to the world is often only a fraction of who she truly is. Beneath that curated version is a more raw, honest, and vibrant woman, one who doesn't have to perform or pretend. But she's only going to let that version out for a man she trusts deeply. Take Jake, 31. Good example. He met Claire, 29, at a friend's barbecue. Outgoing, charming, quick with a joke. She seemed like the life of the party. But Jake noticed something most guys would overlook. Whenever conversations got too personal, she'd redirect them with humor. He didn't push her. Instead, he created moments where she could just be late-night walks, long conversations in the car, quiet moments where there was no pressure to be on. Eventually, she started opening up about her fears, her dreams, even the heartbreak that shaped her guardedness. And here's the key. Jake didn't flinch. He didn't rush to reassure her with empty promises or try to make her happy right away. He listened. He held space. He made her feel safe enough to take off that mask piece by piece. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That applies here. Role isn't to demand vulnerability. It's to earn it by being a man who can handle the weight of it. That means you're grounded enough not to be thrown off by her emotions and secure enough to not need her to always be the fun or perfect version of herself. When you awaken the woman behind the mask, you do more than just deepen intimacy. You create a connection she can't find with men who only know her surface. And once she's felt that freedom with you, going back to a life where she has to hide will feel unbearable. Here's what I want you to comment. I see the real her because most men are distracted by the mask. Be the one who's interested in the woman behind it. In the next step, We'll talk about how to channel that authenticity into building a bond that not only excites her, but also challenges her in all the right ways. Step 10. Keep her love by never stopping the chase. Here's the reality most men forget. Once they have the woman, the game doesn't end when she chooses you. In fact, that's when the real game begins. The mistake so many guys make is thinking the chase is just about winning her over. They put in the effort at the start, the text, the attention, the plans, the subtle mystery, and once she's theirs, they slow down. What they don't realize is this: the moment you stop pursuing her, the slow drift apart begins. Keeping her love alive isn't about desperate gestures or constant validation. It's about maintaining the same energy, curiosity, and presence that drew her in the first place. But now you direct it into deepening the bond. The chase transforms from getting her attention to continuing to deserve her attention. Think about how it works in nature. In the wild, even bonded, pairs of animals display rituals to reaffirm their connection. Dancing, bringing gifts, engaging in shared activities. It's instinctive because it reinforces the bond and prevents complacency. Relationships work the same way. Let's take a real-world example. Ethan, 35, had been with Mia, 32, for 3 years. Most of their friends had fallen into the dull routine stage with their partners. But Ethan made a choice. He wasn't going to stop making her feel chosen. He still planned spontaneous weekends away. He still asked her deep questions about her goals and fears. Even though they talked about life countless times before, he noticed when she changed her hair and complimented her genuinely. He stayed unpredictable, not in a chaotic way, but in a way that kept her curious. Mia never felt like she was just coasting in a relationship. She felt like she was still with the man she fell for, and that kept her invested. The Stoics understood this principle in their own way. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do in love." That means deciding the kind of partner you want to be. One who inspires, excites, and grounds her, and then consistently acting like that man. Not only in the beginning, but always. This doesn't mean bending over backwards or exhausting yourself to keep her happy. It means never letting the spark fade into indifference. Keep surprising her. Keep inspiring her. Keep challenging her. Keep her in ways both big and small, that she chose a man who will always bring his best, not because he's afraid to lose her, but because it's who he is. When you never stop the chase, she never stops feeling wanted. And when she never stops feeling wanted, she'll never want to leave. That's the truth most men never hear. Love isn't something you win once and keep forever without effort. It's alive. It needs to be fed with presence, strength, and intention. If you take anything from this video, let it be this: the man who never stops bringing his best will never have to worry about her drifting away. If you found value here and you want to keep growing into the man you're meant to be, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.